Jack came from Earth, a planet far away from the world called Illyria. He was chosen for a special mission. Everyone on Earth hoped he could help make peace between humans and Illyrians. For a long time, the two worlds did not trust each other. Many people on both sides thought they would always be enemies. But now there was a small hope that things could change. Jack's ship landed on Illyria after many days of travel. The air on Illyria felt strange, but the sky was bright and blue. Tall, silver buildings stretched across the city. Strange plants with glowing leaves grew along the roads. Illyrians walked everywhere, tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered. In soft colors, Jack had never seen anything like them. Their eyes seemed full of wisdom, and their voices were gentle but strong. He met the human team waiting for him. They were nervous but also hopeful. They told Jack that Queen Lyra, ruler of Illyria, had invited them to a grand ceremony. This was the first time in many years that humans had been allowed so close to the Queen. Jack felt honored but worried too. He wondered if he could do something good here. When the day of the ceremony came, Jack dressed in simple, neat clothes. He followed his team to the royal palace. The palace was huge and made of white stone. Beautiful patterns were carved into every wall. Glowing lanterns hung in the halls, lighting their path. The air was cool and full of sweet scents from alien flowers. Jack stood with his team in a great hall. The ceiling stretched far above, covered with crystal designs that sparkled like stars. Hundreds of guests had come, both Illyrians and a few humans. They watched the stage, waiting for Queen Lyra to appear. Music started to play, gentle and calming. Doors opened at the far end of the hall. Queen Lyra entered, walking with slow, careful steps. She wore a long robe of pale silver, and her hair fell like a waterfall of blue light. Everyone bowed or nodded with respect. Queen Lyra looked kind but also proud. She welcomed everyone in a voice that sounded warm and powerful. As the ceremony continued, Jack listened to speeches from Illyrian leaders. They talked about hope for peace and friendship. Jack felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. Could people really trust each other after so much history? Suddenly, something seemed wrong. Jack's eyes caught a quick movement in the shadows along the side of the hall. He tried to look calm, but his heart began to beat faster. He saw someone dressed in dark clothes moving quietly near the stage. It was strange, and Jack knew it did not feel right. He watched the person pull out a small weapon, a thin bow with a single arrow. The arrow's tip glowed with a sickly green light. Jack realized what was happening in an instant. The assassin aimed the arrow straight at Queen Lyra, who was standing just a few steps away. Jack shouted a warning, but the music and voices were too loud. The assassin released the arrow. Jack did not stop to think. He ran forward, pushing past the surprised guests. As the arrow flew through the air, Jack leapt. Between Queen Lyra and the attacker. The arrow struck Jack in the side. Sharp pain shot through his body. He fell to his knees, grabbing the place where the arrow had hit. The poison burned, cold and hot at the same time. The hall fell silent. People gasped, some screamed. Guards rushed forward to catch the assassin, who tried to run but was quickly stopped. Queen Lyra hurried to Jack's side. She knelt beside him, her eyes wide with shock and worry. She called for help. Guards and healers rushed to them. Jack could barely hear their voices. His head spun. He tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. He saw Queen Lyra's face close to his, her hand holding his tightly. Jack's vision blurred. Everything felt far away, like a strange dream. He felt someone lifting him up and heard voices arguing and shouting. He tried to stay awake, but could not. Darkness closed in. When Jack opened his eyes again, he was lying in a soft bed. The ceiling above him was pale blue and covered with gentle patterns. His whole body ached, and his side burned where the arrow had struck. Machines made quiet beeping sounds beside his bed. For a moment, Jack wondered if he was still alive. He remembered the arrow, the pain, and Queen Lyra's worried face. Jack looked around. The room was quiet, with soft light coming from the walls. A window showed the bright city outside. The door opened, and a kind-looking Illyrian healer walked in. She checked the machines and smiled softly at Jack. She spoke gently, telling him he was safe and in the royal infirmary. They had done everything they could to fight the poison. It was a close call, but Illyrian medicine was strong. As Jack rested, he tried to remember every detail. He thought about why he had jumped to save Queen Lyra. It was not just because she was important, it was because he saw someone in danger and could not stand by. He hoped he had done the right thing. More visitors came, some human and some Illyrian. They brought small gifts and told Jack he was a hero, but Jack just felt tired and worried. He asked about Queen Lyra. The healer smiled and said the queen had been asking about him often. She was very grateful. That night, Jack lay awake looking at the ceiling. He did not know what would happen. Next, he wondered if he would ever go home to Earth or if he would ever walk again. But deep inside he felt a strange hope, as if something important was about to change, not just for him, but for everyone on both worlds. As he drifted to sleep, Jack remembered the look in Queen Lyra's eyes when she held his hand. There was fear there, but also trust. Maybe, he thought, things really could change. Jack opened his eyes slowly the next morning. The first thing he saw was the soft blue light coming from the walls around him. He heard gentle beeping from the machines beside his bed. His body felt heavy, and the pain in his side was still there, but less sharp than before. He moved his fingers and toes to make sure he could. He felt weak but alive. He tried to remember where he was. Memories of the ceremony and the poisoned arrow came back to him. He remembered the fear in Queen Lyra's eyes when she knelt beside him. He wondered if she was safe. He wondered if he would ever be able to go home. The door opened quietly, and a nurse stepped in. She smiled and spoke softly. She checked the machines and gave him a cup of cool water. Jack drank slowly, feeling the cold water wash away some of his fear. The nurse told him he had been very lucky. The poison had almost taken his life, but the Illyrian doctors had worked all night. Their medicine was strong, and Queen Lyra herself had ordered the best care for Jack. He felt surprised but grateful. He thanked the nurse and rested his head back on the pillow. Not long after, the door opened again, and this time it was Queen Lyra herself. Jack tried to sit up, but she shook her head and told him to rest. She sat on a chair beside the bed, her eyes gentle. She thanked him in a quiet voice for saving her life. Jack felt shy and unsure what to say. He told her it was just what anyone would do. Queen Lyra smiled at him, but Jack could see a deep worry in her eyes. She asked him how he felt. He answered that he was weak but happy to see her safe. Queen Lyra stayed with Jack for a long time, talking softly about her world. She told him stories of the palace and the gardens outside. Jack listened and tried to learn as much as he could. The more he heard, the more he understood how hard her life as queen was. She always had to make big choices, and not everyone liked her decisions. She told Jack that some people in her court were angry that a human had risked his life for her. Others thought Jack was just trying to get close to her for power. Lyra did not care about what the others said. She told Jack she knew he was honest and brave. She trusted him. Jack felt proud but nervous. As the days passed, Jack's body grew stronger. Every day, Queen Lyra visited him. Sometimes she brought him gifts, small flowers from the royal garden or sweet fruit from her world. Sometimes she just came to sit and talk. The nurses and guards started to notice that the queen was spending so much time with the human guest. Some whispered about it in the halls. Jack heard rumors that some council members did not like it. They thought the queen was breaking old traditions. Jack felt uneasy, but he tried to ignore the gossip. One afternoon, Queen Lyra brought Jack to a balcony outside the infirmary. The air was cool, and the sky was filled with bright colors as the two sons of Illyria set in the west. Jack looked out at the city, amazed at how beautiful it was. The buildings shimmered in the evening light. Strange birds sang in the trees below. Lyra pointed out important places and explained the history of the city. She told Jack that her people had been through many wars and hardships, and peace was hard to find. Jack listened and felt a new respect for her. As they talked, a servant brought tea and small cakes. Jack tasted them, finding the flavors sweet and new. Lyra asked Jack about Earth, and he told her about green forests, blue oceans, and snowy Mountains? She listened closely, asking many questions. She wanted to know what humans dreamed about and what they feared. Jack answered as best he could, and Lyra smiled at his answers. She said she liked his simple way of seeing things. Jack felt happy for the first time since he arrived. In the days that followed, Jack started to walk again, first slowly, then more easily as his strength returned. Queen Lyra was there to encourage him, cheering him on with every step. The palace staff watched the two of them, whispering and wondering what was happening between them. Jack noticed that some people looked at him with kindness, while others looked away or frowned. He tried to focus on getting better. One evening, Jack was resting in his room when a group of humans from his team came to visit. They brought news from Earth and gifts from home. They told Jack that people on Earth had heard what he had done and called him a hero. Jack felt embarrassed, but also proud. His friends told him to be careful because some people on both sides still did not trust the other. They warned Jack that he might be in danger because of his actions. Jack nodded, understanding that his life was changing in ways he could not have imagined. The next morning, Queen Lyra invited Jack to join her in the royal gardens. The gardens were wide and full of strange, beautiful plants. Soft lights glowed among the trees, and sweet smells filled the air. Lyra walked beside Jack, pointing out the rarest flowers and telling him stories about them. She explained that each flower had a special meaning, and some were only given to people who were truly trusted. She picked a small blue flower and gave it to Jack, telling him it was a symbol of courage and friendship. Jack took the flower, feeling honored. As they walked, Jack noticed that Lyra seemed worried. She told him that the council was meeting soon to talk about what had happened at the ceremony. She warned Jack that some council members wanted to send him back to Earth. They were afraid of what might happen if a human became too close to the Queen. Lyra said she would try to protect him, but she did not know if she could. Jack thanked her and promised he would do his best to help bring peace. Lyra smiled, but Jack could see the sadness in her eyes. Later that day, Jack was called to meet with the royal council. The council members were dressed in fine robes and sat in a circle in a large, cold room. They looked at Jack with serious faces. Some asked questions about why he had jumped in front of the arrow. They wanted to know if he had been ordered to do it or if it was a trick. Jack told them the truth, that he had seen danger and acted on instinct. He did not want anyone to be hurt, not even the Queen. Some council members nodded, but others looked doubtful. Queen Lyra spoke up in Jack's defense. She told the council that Jack had saved her life without any thought for himself. She said he was a good man who could help bring peace. Some council members argued, saying humans could not be trusted. They said it was dangerous to let a human stay so close to the throne. Others agreed with Lyra, saying Jack's actions had shown his true heart. The council could not decide. They said they would talk more and give an answer soon. That evening, Lyra visited Jack again. She thanked him for telling the truth to the council. She said she hoped they would see how much he wanted to help. Jack told her he did not know what would happen next, but he would not give up. Lyra smiled and promised that she would keep fighting for peace, no matter how hard it was. As the night grew late, Jack lay in his bed thinking about everything that had happened. He remembered the look on Lyra's face when she gave him the blue flower. He felt proud, but also scared. He wondered if he would ever see Earth again or if he would have to leave Illyria. He hoped that the Queen and her people would understand that he just wanted to do the right thing before he fell asleep. Jack promised himself that he would keep trying, no matter how hard things became. He would do his best for peace, for Lyra, and for everyone who believed things could change. Jack woke early the next day. Sunlight came through the window and made patterns on the walls. He was feeling better, though his side was still sore. Every morning he expected to hear that he would be sent home, but each day Queen Lyra came to see him, and no one from the council tried to make him leave yet. As Jack sat up in bed, he remembered all the new things he had learned since coming to Illyria. It was a strange world, but he was starting to feel a little less out of place. Sometimes he even forgot the pain and the worry for a short while. Queen Lyra arrived after breakfast. She wore a simple dress and a gentle smile. She brought a basket of fresh fruit and asked if Jack wanted to try them. Jack picked a small round fruit that looked like a pink apple. It tasted sweet and crisp. Lyra told him its name and explained that it grew only in the royal gardens. They talked for a while about Earth food and how different things tasted on each world. As the days passed, Jack left his bed more often. He began to walk slowly through the halls of the palace, sometimes with Lyra and sometimes with a kind nurse. The palace was even bigger than Jack first thought. There were long halls full of art, big windows that showed the city, and quiet rooms where light music played. Everywhere he went, he saw Illyrans stopping to watch him. Some looked curious. Some looked friendly, and some just looked away. Queen. Lyra invited Jack to join her for walks in the royal gardens. He always enjoyed being outside. The gardens were large, with winding paths, bright flowers, and pools of clear water. There were birds with shining feathers and gentle, furry animals that were not afraid of humans. As they walked, Lyra told Jack about the plants and how some were used for healing. She also told him about her favorite childhood places in the garden. Jack listened and asked questions. Lyra laughed when he told stories from Earth, especially about things like pets and snowball fights. She was surprised that something as simple as snow could bring so much joy. One afternoon, they sat by a small pond full of blue fish. Lyra was quiet for a long time, watching the water. Then she spoke softly about her family and how she became queen when she was very young. She told Jack about her father, who was a good ruler but very strict. She explained that she always felt alone, even with many people around her. She said it was hard to know who to trust because there were always people who wanted her throne. Jack listened carefully and nodded. He said that on Earth many leaders felt the same way. He told her that people are often afraid to trust others because they think it will make them weak. Lyra smiled at this. She said she wished more people could be brave and honest like Jack. Jack felt shy, but also happy to know that Lyra trusted him with her feelings. They sat quietly for a while. Then Lyra said she needed to return to her duties. She promised to see Jack again the next day. Jack watched her go, thinking about her words. He realized that Lyra was more than just a queen. She was a person who had fears and hopes just like anyone else. He respected her even more now. Later, Jack returned to his room and found a letter on his table. It was from the human ambassador who was worried about Jack's safety. The letter said there were rumors that some people in the palace wanted to send Jack away or even harm him. The ambassador warned Jack to be careful. Jack thought about the warning but did not feel afraid. He trusted Lyra and believed she would keep her promise to protect him. Days went by and Jack's strength returned. He started to help the healers in the infirmary, learning about Illyrian medicine. He enjoyed helping others and made a few friends among the staff. Some Illyrian nurses began to respect Jack for his kindness and hard work. They said he was different from what they expected of a human. One day, Lyra invited Jack to a private dinner in a quiet room of the palace. The table was covered with food from both worlds. Lyra wanted to celebrate Jack's recovery. They talked for a long time, sharing dreams for the future. Jack asked Lyra about her greatest wish. She said she wished for peace between their worlds and a life where she did not have to look over her shoulder every day. Jack told her he wished for the same. He said he believed that small acts of kindness could change things. Lyra agreed. She said she wished more people could see that humans and Illyrans were not so different after all. Jack promised to keep trying, even if it was hard. Lyra smiled at him, her eyes shining in the soft light. As the night ended, Lyra gave Jack a small silver charm. She said it was a symbol of hope. Jack thanked her and put it in his pocket. He went to bed feeling hopeful for the first time in many days. The next morning, trouble came to the palace. 2 guards came to Jack's room and told him to come with them. They said it was important. Jack followed, feeling nervous. They took him to a small room where a group of council members were waiting. One counselor spoke sharply, asking Jack why he spent so much time with the queen. Another said it was dangerous for the queen to trust a human. They asked if Jack had come to Illyria for secret reasons. Jack told the truth that he only wanted peace and to help. The council did not look convinced. They said the queen was too soft with Jack and that it could bring trouble to the kingdom. Jack was worried. He asked if he could speak to Lyra. The council said no, not now. They told him to stay in his room and not speak to anyone until they made a decision. Jack returned to his room, feeling trapped. He looked out the window, hoping Lyra would come after some hours. Lyra came to see Jack. She looked tired and upset. She said she had argued with the council and tried to defend him. She told Jack that some members wanted him to leave for his own safety, but she would not let them send him away so easily. Jack thanked her for her help. Lyra sat down, and for a moment neither spoke. Then Lyra said quietly that she trusted Jack more than anyone in her court. She said that since Jack saved her life, she had felt less alone. She asked Jack how he stayed brave even when people did not trust him. Jack said that sometimes all you can do is be honest and hope people see your true heart. Lyra said she wished she could do the same. Jack told her she was stronger than she knew. That night, Jack stayed awake thinking about everything that had happened. He knew his time on Illyra might not last. Still, he was glad to have met Lyra and made a difference. He hoped the council would change their minds. As he fell asleep, he thought about his home on Earth and the new home he was starting to find. On Illyra. The next day, Lyra invited Jack to walk in the gardens again. As they walked, she told him about the future she dreamed of, a world where humans and Illyrans lived together in peace. Jack said he would like to help make that dream come true. Lyra smiled and squeezed his hand gently. For the first time, Jack thought maybe he could belong on Illyra after all. As the sun set, Jack and Lyra watched the sky together. They both knew there would be more challenges ahead, but in that quiet moment, they felt hope for the days to come. Jack woke to a quiet morning. The city outside the window was still, the palace halls were empty, and the air felt cold. Jack sat on his bed thinking about the days since the attack. He remembered the soft smile on Lyra's face, the kindness she had shown him, and the trust they were starting to build. He wondered if that trust would be enough. There was still danger in the palace, and not everyone wanted peace. Jack walked through the halls, careful to avoid the places where the council members met. He felt eyes watching him. Some servants greeted him with smiles, but others looked away. Jack tried not to let it bother him. He focused on his daily walk in the garden, where he met Lyra most days. The garden felt safe, full of flowers and gentle sounds. The fresh air made him forget his worries for a while. That afternoon, Lyra met Jack by a large tree in the garden. Her face looked tired. She told Jack that the council had argued again, and some members wanted to send him back to Earth. Lyra said she would keep fighting for him, but it was not easy. Jack thanked her for her courage. They sat on a bench and talked about hope. Jack told her that on Earth, sometimes people have to keep hoping even when everything feels impossible. Lyra smiled and said she was glad to have him by her side. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the palace. Jack and Lyra looked at each other and stood up. Guards rushed into the garden, telling Lyra to go inside. Jack felt uneasy. He followed the guards and Lyra back to the palace. Inside, everything felt tense. The guards were on alert, and some servants whispered in corners. Jack stayed close to Lyra, wanting to protect her. Later that evening, Lyra invited Jack to a quiet dinner. She wanted to talk about the future. She told Jack about her fears, how some people in the palace would never accept a human as her friend or ally. Jack said he understood, but he believed that small changes could lead to big ones. Lyra said she wished more people could see the world as Jack did. As they ate, they talked about the old stories of Illyra and Earth. Lyra told Jack about an old legend in her family, that the queen's heart would only be safe with someone truly brave. After dinner, Lyra walked with Jack back to his room. The halls were silent except for their footsteps. As they turned a corner, they heard a sudden sound, a sharp cry, and a rush of feet. Jack saw a figure running toward him, holding a dark blade. Before he could react, Lyra stepped between Jack and the attacker. She blocked the blow with her arm. Guards raced to help, and the attacker was caught. Jack rushed to Lyra's side. She was hurt, but the wound was not deep. Lyra looked at Jack with worried eyes. She told him she had to protect him, just as he had protected her. Jack felt a mix of fear and pride. He realized that Lyra truly cared for him, not just as a hero, but as a person. He helped her walk to the infirmary where healers treated her wound. The news of the attack spread quickly. Many in the palace were shocked to hear that Lyra had risked her life for a human. Some council members were angry and blamed Jack. They said his presence put the queen in danger. Others admired Lyra's courage and started to see Jack differently. Whispers filled the halls, and people argued about what should happen next. Jack stayed at Lyra's side while she healed. He felt responsible for her pain but also grateful for her trust. They spent quiet hours together, talking about their hopes and fears. Lyra told Jack she wanted him to stay, no matter what others said. Jack felt the same way, but he worried about the danger to both of them. One night, as Lyra rested, Jack walked alone in the palace halls. He heard voices behind a door and stopped to listen. Council members were meeting in secret, talking about sending Jack away or even forcing Lyra to give up the throne if she refused. Jack felt fear and anger, but he knew he had to be careful. He decided not to tell Lyra yet, not wanting to worry her while she was healing. The next day, Lyra called a meeting in the Great Hall. Everyone gathered: council members, palace staff, guards, and some of the human team. Lyra stood tall, her arm bandaged, and spoke with a clear voice. She told the people what Jack had done, how he saved her life and risked his own safety. She told them about the attack on Jack and how she would always protect those who showed true courage and kindness. She said she would not be forced to send Jack away. Her decision was final. There was a long silence in the hall. Then a few people clapped, quietly at first, then louder. More voices joined in. Some still looked unhappy, but others looked inspired by Lyra's words. Jack stood at the edge of the crowd, feeling both proud and nervous. He wondered if things would change for the better, or if there would be more trouble ahead. After the meeting, Lyra found Jack in the garden. She smiled and thanked him for trusting her. Jack said he would always trust her, no matter what happened. They walked together among the flowers, talking about what the future might bring. Lyra said she wanted to find a way for humans and Illyrans to live together in peace. Jack promised to help her, even if it was hard. Days passed, and slowly, things in the palace began to change. Some council members stayed angry, but others started to talk with Jack and learn about Earth. Jack was invited to teach some young Illyrans about his world. He enjoyed sharing stories and answering questions. A few guards who had once watched him with suspicion now nodded to him with respect. One evening, Lyra invited Jack to a small party with her closest friends. They played music, told jokes, and danced under the soft lights of the palace. For a few hours, Jack forgot all his worries. He felt like he belonged. Lyra danced with him and laughed, her eyes shining with happiness. Later, as the party ended, Lyra took Jack aside and told him that she had made her choice. She wanted him to stay on Illyra, not just as a guest, but as someone important to her. Jack felt his heart beat faster. He did not know what the future would hold, but he knew he wanted to be by Lyra's side. Lyra smiled and said that together they could face any challenge. Jack went to bed that night feeling hopeful. He knew there would be more struggles, but he also knew that trust, courage, and friendship could change hearts. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, and how much he had grown since the day he jumped in front of the poisoned arrow. He closed his eyes. Jack remembered Lyra's words and promised himself he would never give up on her, or the dream of peace. Outside, the city was quiet, but in Jack's heart, a new hope was growing stronger every day. Jack woke early with sunlight on his face. He felt rested and strong. Today was an important day. Queen Lyra had sent for him. She wanted to show him something. Jack dressed quickly and went to the throne room. The room was empty and quiet. Torches lit the walls with soft light. Lyra stood on the raised platform, looking out at the city through tall windows. Jack approached and bowed. Lyra smiled and told him not to bow. She reached out her hand and guided him to stand beside her. Together they looked at the view: silver towers, glowing streets, and gardens that spread like green carpets. Lyra spoke softly about her vision. For Lyra, she saw a world where humans and Illyrans worked together, built new cities, and shared knowledge. Jack listened, inspired by her dreams. Lyra then said she had arranged for an old friend, General Oren, to meet Jack. Oren was a respected leader of the Illyrian Guard. Lyra said she wanted Oren's support for Jack's stay on Illyria. Jack felt nervous but determined. He knew Oren was a strict man who valued tradition. He hoped Oren would see his honest heart. Later, Jack stood before General Oren in a grand hall. Oren was tall and strong, with silver hair and sharp eyes. He studied Jack before speaking. Oren asked Jack why a human should stay on Illyria. He asked if Jack was here to spy or to seek power. Jack told Oren the truth. He wanted peace, friendship, and to help Illyria. He spoke from his heart, telling Oren about his life on Earth and the hope that had driven him here. Oren was silent for a long time. He then said he respected Jack's honesty but warned that many Illyrians still feared humans. He said Jack would have to earn the trust of her people. Oren challenged Jack to help the city. He asked Jack to join a mission to repair a broken water gate that cooled the palace. The mission was dangerous and required courage and strength. If Jack could help, Oren would support his stay. Jack agreed without hesitation. Lyra watched proudly. Jack felt fear but also excitement. He, for the first time, felt his role here had purpose beyond himself. He prepared for the mission with Illyrian engineers. They explained that the water gate had cracked and leaked, threatening to flood the lower halls of the palace. Jack learned quickly and worked with the team to plan a repair. He carried tools, climbed to high places, and dove into cold water. With the engineers. During the repair, a sudden tremor shook the palace. A small earthquake damaged the gate further. Water gushed through the crack, spraying everyone. Jack remembered the Illyrian engineer shouting that the gate could collapse. Jack knew he had to act quickly. He dove deeper into the water and secured the broken support with his strength. The engineers attached metal bands as Jack held them in place. The noise was loud and the water was cold, but Jack did not stop until the gate was secure. When he surfaced, Oren and the others cheered. Lyra arrived, worried, and saw Jack covered in water and metal. She rushed to his side and helped him up. Jack felt pain in his muscles but happiness in his heart. He had faced danger and succeeded. The engineers praised him and called him a hero. After the mission, Oren approached Jack and placed a strong hand on his shoulder. Oren said that Jack had proven himself by his courage and kindness. He said Jack had earned the respect of the guard and of Illyria. Oren promised to support Jack staying on Illyria. Jack felt pride and relief. That evening, a celebration was held in the palace courtyard. Candles glowed among the trees and music filled the air. Humans and Illyrians danced together. Jack and Lyra walked among the guests, greeting friends. Lyra introduced Jack as her champion and ally. Many people nodded and smiled. Jack noticed that some children followed him, curious about the human hero. During the celebration, Lyra took Jack to a quiet corner. She held his hand and looked into his eyes. She told Jack that she had one more thing to ask. Lyra then knelt on one knee and spoke in front of the crowd. She asked Jack to marry her. She said their union would show the world that humans and Illyrians could stand together. Jack felt his heart beat faster. He knelt too and spoke simply. He would be honored to marry her and help bring peace to their worlds. The crowd cheered. Some people cried tears of joy. Others still looked surprised, but they could not deny the hope in the air. Jack and Lyra stood and embraced. The music began again, louder and happier. Jack felt overwhelmed by the moment. He thought of Earth, of home, and how far he had come. He knew his life would never be the same. Over the next days, wedding plans began. Both human and Illyrian traditions were included. Jack learned to wear Illyrian robes and dance Illyrian dances. Lyra learned about human vows and songs. They shared laughter and nervous smiles as they prepared for a ceremony that would unite two worlds. As the day of the wedding approached, Jack visited the water gate again. He saw Oren, engineers, and palace staff working to strengthen it further. Jack felt pride to have helped protect the palace he now called home. Oren nodded and saluted him. Jack returned the salute, feeling a bond with the general. On the eve of the wedding, Jack and Lyra walked in the royal gardens. The air was cool and filled with the scent of night flowers. They sat by the pond with the blue fish. Lyra held Jack's hand and said she had one secret wish before the marriage. She stood and gently kissed Jack on the cheek. Jack felt happiness he had never known. They sat quietly, watching the stars. Lyra had 2 moons that lit the sky. Jack thought of Earth's moon and smiled. He whispered that no matter where he was, he would always feel hope with Lyra by his side. Lyra leaned on his shoulder and whispered back that she felt the same. Jack went to sleep that night with a calm heart. Tomorrow would be the start of a new life. He thought of the journey from Earth to Lyra, of saving a queen's life, of dangers faced, and of trust earned. Now he would become a partner to Queen Lyra. He felt ready. Together they would face the future and bring peace to both worlds. Jack woke to soft sunlight on the day of the wedding. He could hear distant music and voices in the halls. His heart felt both excited and nervous. Today would change his life forever. He rose from bed, careful of his still healing side, and, dressed in the special Illyrian robes the queen's attendants had prepared. The robes were light and flowing, made of fine fabric that shimmered in silver and pale blue. Jack stared at his reflection in the mirror. He saw a man far from home, standing on the edge of a new world. After a simple breakfast, Jack walked to the wedding grounds with Lyra's guard at his side. The path wound through the royal gardens, which were filled with blooming night flowers that glowed softly under 2 moons. Petals drifted on the air like sparkling rain. Illyrian musicians played gentle tunes on stringed instruments, and scents of sweet nectar and fresh earth mixed in the breeze. At the center of the garden stood a grand circle of white stone pillars. Between each pillar hung long ribbons of silken cloth. Seats were arranged in semicircles for guests to watch. Illyrian nobles sat in their finest clothes. Human diplomats and Jack's team stood together, looking proud. Some children ran here and there, chasing small glowing creatures that hovered above the ground. As Jack approached, he saw Lyra waiting in a place of honor. She wore a gown of pale silver, simple yet elegant. Her hair was braided with white flowers. Jack felt his breath catch when he saw her. She looked beautiful, and he felt lucky to stand by her side. Lyra smiled at him, and Jack felt courage fill his chest. General Oren stepped forward and greeted Jack. He bowed his head in respect, and Jack returned the gesture. Oren whispered that he had done well to come this far. Jack nodded, thankful for Oren's support. The ceremony began when a high priestess of Illyria spoke about unity and hope. She spoke in a gentle voice, telling the story of 2 worlds that once fought but now had a chance to build a new future. Jack listened and thought of his home on Earth. He felt a sudden longing but also a strong sense of purpose. When the priestess finished, Jack and Lyra faced each other. The priestess placed a small crystal bowl on a stone pedestal. She filled it with water from the palace spring, a symbol of life and purity. She asked Jack and Lyra to mix earth from both worlds into the water, showing their union. Jack poured a small vial of earth from his home into the bowl. Lyra added pale blue soil from Illyria's royal gardens. Together they stirred the water until the colors swirled into a new light. Jack looked into Lyra's eyes and spoke his vow. I promise to stand by you, to protect you as you protected me, and to build peace for both our worlds. His voice was clear, and he felt every word in his heart. Lyra spoke next. I promise to honor you, to trust you with my heart and my people, and to share my world with yours. Her voice quivered with emotion. The priestess then declared them partners of life and peace. She poured the mixed water onto a flowering sapling at their feet. The sapling absorbed the water and bloomed instantly, petals of white and blue unfurling. The crowd gasped in wonder. Cheers rose all around. Hands clapped and some guests wept. Jack felt tears of joy in his own eyes. He and Lyra turned to face their guests, holding hands as the music swelled. After the ceremony, guests moved to the feast area. Long tables were filled with foods from Earth and Illyria, fresh fruits, savory roasts, sweet cakes, glowing Illyrian drinks, and warm bread from Earth. Jack walked through the tables, greeting guests with Lyra by his side. He felt a warmth in the smiles and nods he received during the feast. Jack noticed a young Illyrian boy who looked at him with wide eyes. Jack sat beside him and shared a piece of earth bread. The boy asked Jack about his home. Jack told stories of forests, oceans, and snowy hills. Lyra came and smiled at them. She whispered that this was the future she wanted children of both worlds sharing stories. Later, a toast was made. Human Ambassador Morgan spoke first, praising the courage of Jack and Lyra. He said their union would shine as a beacon of hope. Then General Orrin raised his glass, saying that if a human and an Illyrian queen could trust each other, anyone could. The crowd echoed his words and drank deeply. As the party continued, Jack and Lyra danced under lanterns. Humans tried the graceful Illyrian dances, and Illyrians tried the lively human dances. Laughter filled the air. Jack held Lyra close, feeling her warmth and trusting her completely. When the celebration quieted, Jack and Lyra walked back through the garden. The night air was cool, and the moons shone brightly. They sat again by the pond of blue fish. Jack took the silver charm Lyra had given him and placed it around her wrist. He told her it would always remind him of their hope. Lyra smiled and placed a small ring of woven flowers on Jack's finger. She said it was a simple token but made with love. Jack said it was the greatest gift he could ever receive. They sat in silence for a while, watching reflections on the water. Then Lyra asked Jack if he missed Earth. Jack said he did sometimes, but with her by his side he felt at home on Illyra. Lyra held his hand, and they made a promise to visit Earth one day together. As dawn neared, Jack and Lyra returned to the palace. They stood on a balcony looking at the city waking up. Lyra said that their journey would not be easy, but together they would face any challenge. Jack squeezed her hand and said he was ready. Jack's life had changed more than he ever imagined. He had come to Illyra as a stranger and a diplomat. He had risked his life to save a queen. He had faced danger, politics, and fear. Now he stood as partner to Queen Lyra, ready to bring peace to two worlds. As the sun rose on their first day as partners, Jack felt hope shine brighter than ever. He looked at Lyra and whispered that this was just the beginning. Together they would write a new story for both Illyra and Earth, and their love would guide the way.